So hello, we're here today with Catherine Walker, who is the author of so far 2 fantasy stories, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. The first is Shattering Dreams, so the first in my series, and the second is Path of the Broken.
Ooh. And I hear there's a third one coming out at some point?
There is, hopefully end of this year. I just have to stop talking to people, pull my finger out and finish it, but it's going pretty well at this stage.
Yeah, well, it might be a good Christmas time sort of thing.
That's what I'm hoping for. So about November, December is kind of the plan at this stage.
Well, sounds perfect. So tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us a bit about your series.
Okay. I don't know. I think I'm that person that does what a lot of us do. So always had that thing of, yeah, I'm going to write this book one day. And then, you leave school and you find jobs and you run around and you travel the world and you do all this sort of stuff and you get lost in life and paying bills.
Yeah.
And just one day I just sat there and I got bored. I was somewhere where it rained a lot. So I was offshore. And I was stuck indoors. There was no internet either. The TV didn't work because it was via satellite. So I fell back on that old sort of fallback and started writing. And then I got back home and decided to give up that side and all the rest of it. And about 6 months later, I picked up the draft that I'd started to write. And I thought, man, this isn't so bad. So I kept going, and then I decided, that one day dream, it's not going to happen unless I do it. So I just decided to try. So I did.
Good for you. I love picking up a draft some months later and saying, wow, this isn't as terrible as I thought. That is.
I know. It's that point where you're looking at it going, and those bits where you go, did I actually write that, or did just someone sneak in and do it for me?
The writing poltergeist. Although I'm not sure they're meant to be helpful.
True, but in this occasion, it perhaps was. There's also many occasions where I swear it could not have been me that actually wrote that. It just must have been someone that wrote those.
Yes. The writing spirits of people past. I'll take it any day.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about your series. Is it a trilogy, or is it just going to keep going until you decide that, no, I think I'll stop?
No, it is a trilogy. So the Elderborn is the final book in the series. There will be more in the world that I'm planning. It's just whether I go like thousands of years in the past or whether it flows on into the next.
Okay. I really want to know.
Yeah, well, I wrote something in Path of the Broken. I had one of those things, when your editor says, I like it, it works, and then they utter the words, but. It's just one of those horrible moments. So I had my but and I read it, and unfortunately I agreed with his but, so I had to do some rewriting, and it was particularly on the antagonist side. But I think it's for the better, and I wrote these 2 scenes, and it's to do with 2 characters, and it's just like them just retelling something from their youth, which was thousands of years ago in the past. And when I went back to read it, I thought, oh, actually, I kind of like that history. And a couple of my early readers turned around and went, oh, you have to write that. I want to read about them. So I think that's become my new next series.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
let's leave that one. And then there's a flow on, which again happened in this rewrite where I suddenly went, ooh, this is where it can go next. A separate series that you don't necessarily have to have read the first or even the one way back, but definitely in the same world.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so you're going to be busy for rather a while, it sounds like.
Yes, and there's notes for a couple of other series. It's like there's all these books that I want to write, and I've written all these dot notes, and in one case, like a 100K manuscript that's just sitting in my top drawer that I haven't done anything with.
Oh, I just happened to write 100K, and I'm not doing it. Really?
It's just still sitting there, so I have to pick that one up and do a rewrite of that one day, and It really is just a first draft, though. You know, that they're usually
Yeah.
pretty crappy. Like, oh, sorry, I just swore.
Yeah. It's either that, the 6 months later and, oh, this is wonderful, or let's never think of this again, ever.
Yeah, so I'll probably pull it out of my top drawer one day and dust it off, read it, and then put it back in the top drawer. I'm thinking, like, it's too much work to revive this, so it's just going to stay there under lock and key.
Oops. Well, some, years down the road, when you are dead and you're a famous author and everyone wants to have every piece of your work, they will look at this, and some poor academic will say, wow, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I think I know right now how some of those authors feel. They're probably rolling in their graves right now. Their top drawers being opened and their relatives just publishing all this stuff that they're going,
no, stop. That wasn't meant for people to read. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few of those works.
We all do, right?
Yes. Some things that should never be seen. So as far as the writing process goes, do you have a least favorite bit? And I'm including the publishing process in this as well.
Oh, wow. Well, that part, that's very tedious. Probably the part I'm in right now, like my first draft for me goes pretty fast. I just sit there and bash it out. It's kind of fun. But I also don't tend to write in order.
Oh, no.
Really a plotter either. So I just bash out all these ideas. So the bit I'm in now, which is that I'm looking at it, and the bulk of the story's there. It's just now I have to pull it into a logical order and then work out the bits I've missed. And yeah, so that's the bit that's kind of tedious and takes longer for me to do. So that's really, tedious is the best word.
Yeah.
Publishing and putting it up everywhere. That takes so much longer than, I did it the first time and I didn't realize how long it was going to take. I just thought, I'll just publish it. Oh, good. And then I realized, this is taking me all day and I haven't got it up everywhere. And then you conveniently forget, right? In this, yay, it's up. And then you do it the second time. It's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Now I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. No,
I have a spreadsheet and I've got all the details there. So the blurb and the links. And so I learned that from the first time round instead of having to look each time.
Right.
You've got some memory failure and you're going, oh, that's right. Now I need to find my book again. Oh, they really want a link? Oh, I need to go find that too. So it's all in a spreadsheet.
I think sometimes us indie author types have a bit of a leg up on the traditional publishing types because we actually understand how much work goes into that background bit.
Definitely. Most people, until you've done it, you don't really understand. And I would suggest most of the indies who haven't quite gotten around to hitting that little publish button don't either. We all have this blind spot where you go, no, that's the fun. That's the easy part. Writing is the hard part.
Yeah, and then, of course, we get the marketing bit in, which is...
that's hard. It's like trying to learn another language altogether.
Yes.
And it's very time consuming as well. You can find yourself dragged away from what you want to be doing, which is your writing. So you have to find that balance between them.
Yes, I would happily be one of those writers way back in the 20s and 30s who could just write the novel and then sort of walk away, send it off to somebody else, and it just magically appears.
Yeah, that would be good. Mm-hmm. Or just, you could just start selling just obscene amounts of books and then you can just afford to pay for somebody else to do the marketing.
Right, yeah, that works too.
NPN can come knocking on your door and say, we want to buy your book and make a TV series out of it or something. And right?
Oh, the dreams of a writer, not what they used to be.
Yeah, true.
Oh, dear. Okay, so you went about writing a novel, you just sort of sat down when you were bored. So what do you do now? Is it like an evenings thing or a on the weekends thing or a, golly, I'm waiting for this document to load at work and I need to do something else?
That bit of column A and a bit of column B. So my weekends are usually filled with writing. So I'm the boring one, like in the people I know, or I think I am, because everyone talks about their weekends and it gets to me and it's like, what did you do on the weekend? It's like, oh, I wrote. What else did you do? I wrote. Yep. So I and I get up, I go for a walk, I come back and I make myself a coffee and I sit here in front of my computer and the bulk of the day, other than chores, is just chewed up for like the 2 days just in writing. But also during the week, I tend to write something or do some of the business elements regardless every day. So, getting up in the morning before that terrible day job thing, I'll make coffee and I'll read my emails because a lot of the stuff is coming from the US, so an entirely different time zone. So it all comes into my inbox while I'm sleeping. Yeah. So I'll respond to all of that stuff before I go to work and then have all the, testy messages from people. Why aren't you replying? Well, I've been at work.
Sleep is nice.
and yeah, so I tend to write every day, basically, or do something. And when I say write, sometimes it might be, you write a paragraph and the next day you delete it, but I do something on it.
Yeah, I don't know if that counts, writing and then deleting, but I'm sure something works.
Yeah, no, it does eventually. I tend to write more than I delete, so it's okay.
That I call success. There you go. That's all you need to do. So in terms of putting it into a logical order, how does that work? Do you have bits that are just, like, if you accidentally swap a scene, then you have no idea what's going on the entire book?
Not really. Like when I'm when I'm writing it, I'll tend to label it. So the character's name and what the scene is or about. And then I'll tag it with who's in it as well. So I kind of, when I'm looking down at it, kind of know. So if I'm writing, say, Jess's, one of my character scenes, I'll tend to write them in a group sometimes. And this is her, so that particular arc, I'll sit there and bash that all out in a group. And then I'll do the same with the other characters. And then it's just kind of like doing that. When I've done the other end, just sort of pulling them in, so you're not having like a third of a book taken up with one character and the next third with the next, and meshing it all up. And I guess what it then takes is, sometimes there's that bit of like, okay, that doesn't meet with that, or they know too much there because I thought it was going to go down here, but now it's there. So it's that part, which is, I guess, why that part of the process takes a bit more time.
Mm-hmm. That is very cool. So weaving characters together, I usually just write everything in order, and so this is all fascinating to me, and I have no idea how you managed to do it, and I'm super impressed.
It's just more ideas occur, so I just write them. If I try to plot, like I've tried it, I sit there and I get the little cards and I write on them, and this is what's going to happen, and I go, right, I'm good, I know what's going to happen in this scene, and then I write it. And somehow it's just not what the card says. It just becomes something else. So I've given up on that and just thought, you know what, it just happens. I'm just going to write it and I'll deal with how it should look after.
Whatever works best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I sometimes think being a plotter would be easier, but it's just not me.
Yeah. I tried plotting once and my academic paper came out. It was completely different from fiction. Yep. So is there a story out there that you wish you had written?
Probably every novel that's ever made it and people buy it, even the ones I don't understand why people buy it, right? Like years before, it's like, damn it, why didn't I write that?
Yeah. Okay, yes, I wish that were the case.
But I don't know. I think every story, not every story, most stories have merit and a lot that I really, really love, but I don't know that I could have written it better than the authors. In fact, I know I wouldn't have. I just like them for what they are. So I wouldn't want to take, even if I could somehow go back in time, rewrite and say, that's not now mine. I like that villain.
I'm sure there's some law against time traveling and then stealing a copyright.
Yeah, no, there should be, right? I wouldn't want to do that to someone. That's a horrible thing.
No. But every now and again, just an inkling of that success would be nice.
It would be. It would be very nice indeed. But you're just going to keep plugging away, right?
Yeah. Eventually, success happens overnight after 20 years of work, right?
Yeah, and for all those people that think it just happened like that.
Oh, how silly they are. Yes. Mm-hmm.
But that's the illusion we all create, right? Because people will never heard this until they finally catch on and they start reading it and they just think it just magically happens overnight.
Yes. Yes, because we're all wizards and to put no work into this at all. And I know nothing.
Exactly. You can churn out a 100K plus manuscript just overnight. You just sit down and over the weekend or whatever, it's just written. It's how it works.
Mm-hmm. My tail feathers. As far as the publishing process goes, what do you think is the most important thing for being an indie author?
I think a lot of it, the first part is the story. Like at the end of the day, get your story as good as you can, because it doesn't matter. You can pay for the best editor in the world. If your story isn't any good, the editing's really not going to help. It's going to put the dots in the right spot and all the rest of it. But it won't make a bad story a good one. So that would be the first part. If you at least write a good story that other people might want to read, even if the other elements aren't quite as good, you know what? An editor can help you pull all of that into line for you. And that's what some of them are really, really good at. And then there's your other elements like the cover. As much as they all say, don't judge a book by its cover, we all know it's lies, because if you're on Amazon, the only thing they're seeing is your cover. That's the first thing. And so if it's really, really bad, the people aren't going to click on it. They're not going to read your blurb, and that would be the next bit, which I hate, really hate. Like, it's funny, I can write the whole book, but I hate blurbs, and they're so small. It's the whole package, and I think if you're an indie, that's the thing. You need to learn all of it. You need to get your story right. Then you need to take your covers seriously, and editing comes in, whether you go to an actual editor or whether you go to a writing group and get lots of people to critique and mark it up for you. You can't see your own work when you've been through it like 1,000,001 times. You just don't. And then you need to start learning the marketing side and advertising, and you have to do all of it. I don't think there's any one thing. And if you don't want to do all of that, then I guess just keep hanging out for a trad to take you on board and publish your book.
Yeah, although these days, traditional publishing and indie publishing are sort of the same thing, because they still expect their authors to do the marketing and all of that.
They do, but I think a lot don't realize that as well. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, so us writers are kind of doomed either way.
It is, and I just figure, well, you might as well do it the indie way, because if you're going to do it anyway, right, you might as well then get the benefit from it, if there is any benefit to be had in the long run.
Well, I mean, there's the whole control thing, which is awfully nice.
Well, it is, but I remember I muffed up my first cover that way. Like, I'm not artistic at all. Like, when I was drawing, I did double art in school, and I cannot draw to save myself. So I decided to go with this cover artist, no problems. And the first thing they said to me was, so tell me exactly what you want on the cover. And I kind of went, what? Yeah, cover, make it pretty.
Yeah.
And so I had to end up describing things, but as I said, I'm no good at cover art. So the cover I got, and they did a very good job, but perhaps it just wasn't the best cover. And ultimately then I wasted my money, and I ended up changing the cover. And I went to a company who in their lines just kind of said something about, we're not going to give you the cover that you necessarily want. We'll give you the cover you need. So I thought, okay, that sounds like me.
Yes, I can live with that. That sounds lovely.
Mm-hmm. Stop asking me what pictures or what drawing to put on the cover. Really? If I knew that part, I'd do it myself.
Right. Yes, although back when I was much younger and trying to put things out, I did my own covers, and it was pretty bad.
I Yeah, my efforts would be appalling if I tried. It'd be something like just, let me this would probably be about the standard if I did a cover. I'm not far off that. So I'm perfectly willing to actually pay a professional. And, it is an art form in itself. And I don't think it's something any of us should undervalue any more than we like our own work being undervalued.
Right.
So.
Well, covers aside, what is the best money you spent as an indie author? And this doesn't necessarily have to actually involve the writing process. I've had people talk about travel or things that they bought that are sort of fan pieces for their book.
I guess there's a number of things. So I have a friend actually bought me a gift, which is a really nice diary, sort of notebook. It's really kind of pretty because I always take a notebook with me everywhere. After I learned that sometimes you can't take electronics and they go flat, and then when you write in and scrap pieces of paper. I don't know about you, but I'll lose them. So if I write scrap pieces of paper, they just go wandering. So I really like that, but it's a really pretty diary rather than just a black sort of utilitarian notebook. So that's become very, very handy when I'm on trains and buses or just somewhere where just to write notes down. That's really cool. Writing itself, editing would be the
yes,
it just, for me at least, I would never put anything out without going through an editor. That is really good money spent. Obviously the covers as well, but that's a given too. Travel, like everything comes into it, everything that you've ever done, even the bad stuff that's happened in life. It all has an impact, and I think it somehow reflects in your work.
Well, I mean, life is research for your novel.
Yeah.
Except for the few things where it's a completely different field, like the whole medical terminology, or how in the world do you saddle a horse?
Yeah, there is that. And then you have to go out and learn how to saddle a horse or do some Google searches and look it up and go, oh, that's how I do that. It's easier today, right? There's all these sorts of training videos online. You just get on YouTube and hit play and someone's going to show you how to do something.
Part of me wants to go back to the time when we actually had to be method writers and go and learn how to do things to be able to describe them correctly.
Can you imagine how long it would take to write your book? And apart from that, if you're writing science fiction, you're really saying you want to become an astronaut so you know what it's like to walk in space. I mean, that would be cool, but you're probably going to write your book.
Okay, so yeah, that would be problematic. And
flying a dragon, they don't really exist.
Well, creative liberties. I'll take some liberties with that. It's kind of like being on a plane, sort of, not really.
No, planes don't flap their wings. It's almost like the mishmash then between the horse and a plane, because the plane's fairly stable, but then if you're on a horse, it can buck you and do this stuff. So if you could almost meld the plane with the horse, it might be kind of similar. Maybe.
Yeah. So basically, I either have to switch to something that is more contemporary, or pretty much contemporary, or I'm doomed for my research.
Yeah, like I think that age-old thing where people say, "Oh no, you just write what you know," and you just sit there and go, "Really, science fiction and fantasy wouldn't exist if we all actually just wrote what we know, because it doesn't exist in reality." I mean, human emotions do, and that's the side that we put into it, but the actual world creation and And even with science fiction, yes, it's based on the science fact that we have now, and you just extrapolate forward into where it might be. And sometimes science fiction writers have done remarkably good jobs. If you look way back before, certain technologies existed to now, you like go, wow, they were really close. And other
the
times,
GPS technology was actually invented by a science fiction writer, and then technology people said, hey, that's a good idea. And so they actually made it a reality.
Exactly. I think sometimes scientific types perhaps look at, even though they probably don't admit it, they look at the science fiction and go, that's not so far-fetched. I think we can do that, which destroys the science fiction writer's whole book, right? Because suddenly it's not science fiction anymore.
Yeah. Well, actually, I read an article the other week about the French military had hired a group of science fiction writers to extrapolate possible problems that they might come upon in the future so that the military could be prepared for this.
Oh, that's funny.
I can't tell if that's a writer's dream job or a nightmare.
Probably a bit of both, right?
Yeah.
And can you imagine the fun you could have with them? They're asking you to make stuff up. It's like I'm happy at it.
Yeah. So you basically just hang out in a room with a bunch of other writers and say, what could go wrong? Yeah, I can definitely live with that.
And someone's paying you to do it too. It's not like you have to write the whole thing and then hope you get paid afterwards by people buying it. They're going to pay you to sit in a room and make
come up with ideas.
Yeah.
There's a job I'd like.
Just check the conditions and the pay. Like, are they going to lock you away so you're never seen alive again? That would not be.
Is this catered? Do I get the free food? Do I get dental? All of these things I have to know.
Accommodation, like you've got to be put up in a suitable environment, really. A nice allowance.
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't think that's.
So as far as other people in the indie community, is there a story out there that you think is underappreciated?
Probably every book that isn't liked. I don't know. I just think there's books that I absolutely hated, including books that win awards, right? But I also know that I'm not going to like every book that's ever written, and it's unreasonable, and that's the same for every other person. So for every one of us, like, I don't get romance. I don't get why they sell. I just don't understand it. But there's lots of people in the world, given how many of them sell, that really like them. So perhaps I underappreciate that genre, but it would be a boring world if we all liked every book in the same way. We couldn't debate them and sit down over lunch and go, are you kidding? You like that book? Or you like X character? That's part of what makes it all fun sometimes, I think. It is that debate over the books and the characters and no, but they shouldn't do that or they should. And it's part of it, I think.
Yes, I would definitely agree. And as far as romance goes, those authors make rather a lot more money than I do.
They make a lot more than me, but that's not hard either. So, we can just learn from them, right? At least in the sales, they're obviously doing extremely well. Not all of them, but many.
A good portion of them are doing well. Certainly better than you or I, because
well, and the look on people's faces when you explain to them that you realize that romance is like the top seller of the genres, and they look at you and go, no, that drivel couldn't be. And it's like, well, you should see drivel. It's probably half this office actually likes romance books and buys them.
Yeah. From what I understand, the whole thing there is that it's desirability. people, the whole premise of the story is what is, this is desirable to be wanted or to go on whatever adventures happen in these books. It's all the desirability that people don't get in their normal lives, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I haven't done any critical analysis.
I think if we could figure it out, our own books would probably be selling lots, right?
Yeah.
Except I don't write in that genre, so not so much.
No, not so much. Oh well, I'll stick to sci-fi and fantasy for now. Let's destroy the world with technology and dragons, because
that's the way it should be, right?
I'm still waiting for my own dragon, but we'll see about that one.
Now that would be nice, but don't tempt scientists. They might try to bring them back.
Well, there is the whole, Jurassic Park thing, and the fact that they're actually trying to clone the dinosaurs, and I just want to send them a copy of the book and say, have you actually read the book? Do you know what's going to happen?
It's like, don't do it. We've all seen the movie.
Not going to end well. Unless they're in miniature. I mean, honestly, a tiny T-Rex would be okay.
Yeah, but then they're just going to breed and grow bigger.
Well, not necessarily. They could just hunt bugs.
I think, though, the DNA would get away. Like, once you start meddling with stuff like that. Come on, it happened in Jurassic Park.
That's true. That is true.
When they tried to meddle with them to make them not breed and stuff like that, it didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work.
Well,
we need to learn from these authors that wrote this. They know stuff, right?
So basically, science fiction authors know everything, and fantasy authors can extrapolate anything. Yes. Or was it the other way around?
Bit of both.
Yes. So, for people trying to get into the industry, are there any traps that they should avoid?
Probably every indie you're ever going to meet who thinks they know. Like we've all met them, we've all seen them on the discussion boards, and they kind of pretend like they're the expert.
Mm.
And so they give you all this advice, and most of it's just full of trash because they haven't made it themselves. Their books aren't selling or whatever, and so they don't really know what they're talking about. Or because they half-assed like some Facebook ads, they think they can tell you how to do it, but they don't really know either. That's all the charlatans out there. As soon as you write a book, by the time I came to release my second one, the amount of unsolicited emails I got from people trying to take money off me to promote my book. Those people you need to watch.
Yeah, I've gotten a few of those, and my book doesn't even come out until October, so it's always so funny to me.
Yeah, like they must have known something, and they all started arriving just before Broken came out, going, oh, your books, they're so wonderful. It's like, how would you know? You haven't read it. Like, give us money and we'll promote it. Go away.
Yeah, probably. So don't give money to people without verifying them, just a touch.
Yeah, exactly. There are just so many of them out there, and not all of them work. And they don't necessarily, they might work in some genres, but you do need to do your research because sometimes they don't work with every genre. So they may not be lying. They may help, someone sell hundreds of books if it's about horses or whatever, because that's all of the people on their mailing list. It's not going to help you if you're writing about dragons.
Yeah, probably not.
No. Those are the people that I would really, really watch, and just sit back and get your books done and be patient and release them. It doesn't happen overnight, and if suddenly it does, yay you, and can you please tell us how you all did it, right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, please. I'm still wishing for that one. Not quite there yet.
Yeah, me neither, but that's okay.
Well, is there anything else you would like to add that is writing related or otherwise?
I don't think so, other than, for new people, if you're embarking on this, be prepared to give up lots of sleep, particularly with the whole day job and there's 2 jobs all at once. So you end up burning the candle at both ends just to get all this done. and you'll end up being the most boring person around because everybody will have stories about what they're doing in their time off, and what you're going to be doing is writing a book.
Well, I mean, your stories could still be, oh yes, I accidentally set fire to a village the other day. It just happened to be a fictional village, but, the fire happened.
Yeah, I think I bored the bejesus out of my work colleagues because I would be telling them everything, and then this happened, and then this happened with this character. And so I think they actually knew my entire book before it came out.
Wow. I mean, if they knew your entire book and they still read it, then good for you.
They did and bought a copy, so that was kind of nice of them,
Yeah.
given they pretty much knew the entire plot of the book by that stage. Not so bad.
Yeah, that's impressive. Very cool. Well, I'm excited to read your books. It should be very interesting.
Definitely. But it's also, I guess, to new people, the only other piece of advice is be prepared to make mistakes. That's how we all learn.
I think that's a given for life.
It is, but sometimes you just think, I'm going to be perfect. And the people who say, no, there's no typos in my book. And it's just like, oh, you poor dear. Yeah, there will be, and some people are actually going to point them out to you.
Yeah. One day I'd like to say there are no typos in my book and have it actually be true.
Me too. I can't see it happening in the foreseeable future.
Nope.
Unless I want to pay way more money on multiple people to actually, like professionals, to go through it over and over again. Because even when you get a professional to do it, there's still typos.
A couple that slip through the cracks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. It was good fun, and I learned all sorts of things that I didn't know before, especially about science fiction writers and us trying to take over the world, apparently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what we're all good at.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for doing this.
No problems. Thanks for speaking to me.